He didn't save my daughter's life because he was kind. He saved her because he wanted to own me. And by the time I realized it, I was already carrying his child. Let me tell you how a single mother from Houston's 3rd Ward ends up pregnant with a Korean Mafia boss's baby. It starts with desperation, the kind that makes your hands shake when you're counting coins at 2 a.m., trying to figure out if you can afford both dinner and your daughter's medication. The kind that makes you take shifts you know will break your body because the alternative is watching your child die. My name is Amara Jennings. I'm 29 years old, black, poor, a waitress by day, office cleaner by night. And 6 months ago, I made a deal with the devil to save my daughter's life. Zara was 7 when the doctors told me she had maybe 3 months to live. 3 months. 90 days to watch my baby girl, the one good thing I'd ever created in this world, slowly fade away. She had a congenital heart defect, born with it. The doctors said she needed surgery that cost $285,000. My insurance called it elective. Elective. Like choosing to keep your child alive was optional. I tried everything. I created a GoFundMe that raised $4,000 before disappearing into the endless scroll of other people's tragedies. I applied for loans from banks that laughed at my credit score. I called Zara's father, Marcus, who'd left us 3 years ago for a woman with no complications. He didn't even answer, so I worked. 16-hour days, sometimes 18. I waitressed at Denny's from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., then cleaned offices at Sterling Tower from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I slept in my car during the gaps, my phone alarm set for every 2 hours so I could call and check on Zara. My mother, bless her, stayed with Zara while I worked myself into the ground. And every night I'd come home and crawl into Zara's bed, hold her small body against mine, and pray to a God I wasn't sure was listening. "Mommy?" She'd whisper in the dark. "Yes, baby." "Am I going to die?" And I'd lie. Every single night I'd lie. "No, baby, Mommy's going to fix this. I promise." But we both knew the truth. I was running out of time. Sterling Tower was where Houston's wealthiest people worked. 52 floors of glass and steel and money so old it had forgotten where it came from. I cleaned the executive floors. Every night I'd push my cart through offices bigger than my apartment, wiping down desks made of wood that cost more than my car, emptying trash cans that held the crumpled up problems of people who'd never worried about choosing between food and rent. I hated them, not because they were rich. I wasn't naive enough to think wealth was evil, but because they walked past me like I was invisible. Like the woman scrubbing their floors at midnight didn't exist. All except one, Min Jun Kang. The first time I saw him, I thought he was lost. It was 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in September. I was on the 52nd floor, the executive, level, emptying the trash in the break room when I heard footsteps. Sharp, deliberate, the kind of footsteps that belonged to someone who owned things. I turned. He stood in the doorway, backlit by the glow of Houston's skyline through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Tall, at least 6'2". Korean, maybe mid-30s. Black hair slicked back perfectly. Charcoal suit that probably cost more than my entire year's salary. And eyes, dark, unreadable eyes, that looked at me like I was the first interesting thing he'd seen all day. "You're new," he said. His voice was low, controlled, accented just enough to remind you English wasn't his first language. "No, sir," I said, my hands tightening on the trash bag. "I've been here 8 months." He tilted his head slightly, studying me. "Night shift?" "Yes, sir." He walked closer. Each step echoed in the empty space. I noticed everything about him, the polished leather shoes, the watch that caught the light, the way he moved like someone who'd never been told no in his entire life. "What's your name?" "Amara, sir. Amara Jennings." "Amara." He said it slowly, like he was tasting it. "Why do you look so tired, Amara Jennings?" The question caught me off guard. Nobody asked the cleaning lady how she was feeling. "I'm fine, sir." "You're lying." My breath caught. He stepped closer, close enough that I could smell his cologne. Expensive, something woody and dark. "Do you know who I am?" he asked. I shook my head. A faint smile touched his lips. Not warm, amused. "Good?" He turned and walked away, his footsteps fading down the hallway. I stood there, trash bag still in my hands, my heart pounding for reasons I didn't understand. I didn't see him again for 3 weeks, but he saw me. I found that out later, that Min Jun Kang had been watching me, studying me, learning everything about me while I scrubbed floors and counted down the days until my daughter died. He knew about Zara. He knew about Marcus leaving. He knew about the medical debt crushing me like a building collapsing in slow motion. He knew everything, and he'd been waiting. 3 weeks after our first encounter, my supervisor called me into his office. Ralph was a tired white man in his 50s who'd worked at Sterling Tower for 20 years and never once looked me in the eye. He gestured to the chair across from his desk. "Sit." I sat. "You're being reassigned," he said, not looking up from his computer. My stomach dropped. "What? Why? Did I do something wrong?" "No, executive request. You'll be cleaning the 60th floor starting tonight." The 60th floor, the penthouse level, private offices, high security clearance. "Who requested me?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Ralph finally looked at me, and for the first time in 8 months I saw something in his eyes, pity. "Mr. Kang." The 60th floor was different from everything else in Sterling Tower. No cubicles, no fluorescent lights, no cheap carpet or motivational posters, just dark, hardwood floors, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Houston like a kingdom, and silence so thick it felt like walking through water. At the end of the hallway was a set of double doors, black lacquered wood with brass handles, Min Jun Kang's office. I cleaned around it for 2 nights, my hands shaking every time I got close. On the 3rd night, the doors opened. "Amara." I jumped, nearly dropping my mop. Min Jun stood in the doorway, shirt sleeves rolled up to his elbows, tie loosened. He looked different, tired, almost human. "Yes, sir?" "Come inside." My heart hammered against my ribs. "Sir, I'm not supposed to—" "I own this building." His voice was flat, final. "Come inside." I set down the mop and followed him in. His office was massive, a black marble desk, bookshelves filled with leather-bound volumes in Korean and English, a bar cart with crystal decanters, and on the wall behind his desk, a massive painting of a tiger, red, gold, black, traditional Korean art, fierce and beautiful. Min Jun walked to the bar cart and poured 2 glasses of whiskey. "I don't drink on the job, sir." "You're not on the job anymore." He slid a glass across the desk toward me. "Sit." I sat. He didn't. He stood by the window, glass in hand, staring out at the city lights below. "Your daughter is at Texas Children's Hospital," he said, his voice quiet. "Room 447, Zara Jennings, age 7, congenital heart defect, stage 4, heart failure." The room spun. "How do you— I know everything about you, Amara." He turned to face me. "I know you work 80 hours a week. I know you sleep in your car. I know you sold your wedding ring 6 months ago for $300. I know you haven't eaten a full meal in 4 days." Tears burned my eyes. "Why are you telling me this?" Min Jun walked toward me, slow, deliberate. He stopped 3 feet away, looking down at me with those dark, unreadable eyes. "Because I'm going to save her." Silence crashed into the room. "What?" "The surgery, the medical bills, all of it." He took a sip of whiskey. "I'll pay for everything." I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. "Why?" I whispered. Min Jun set his glass down on the desk, and then he said the words that would change my life forever. "Because, Amara Jennings, I need something from you that money can't buy." He leaned down, his face inches from mine. "I need you to carry my child." The world stopped. "What? You heard me." No, you can't. That's insane. I don't even know you." "You don't need to know me." His voice was cold now, controlled. "You only need to decide if your daughter's life is worth 9 months of yours." I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. "You're crazy. I'm leaving." "Sit down." "No. Sit down." Something in his voice made me freeze. Not anger, not violence, authority. The kind that came from a man who'd spent his entire life making people obey. I sat. Min Jun walked back to the window, hands in his pockets. "I'm 36 years old," he said quietly. "I run. Kang Global Imports, a company worth $4.7 billion. I have homes in 6 countries. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. He turned. But I don't have a child. And in my world, a man without an heir is a dead man walking. Then get married. Have a family like a normal person. He laughed, bitter, humorless. A normal person. He shook his head. I've had 17 women try to marry me in the last 5 years, Amara. Do you know what they all had in common? I didn't answer. They wanted my money, my name, my power. His jaw tightened. Not one of them wanted me. So you're going to pay some desperate woman to have your baby instead? No. He looked directly at me. I'm going to pay you. Why me? Because you're the only person in this building who wants nothing from me. You don't even look at me when I walk past. You don't flatter, you don't scheme, you just work. He stepped closer. You're honest, and in my world, honesty is rarer than gold. I stared at him, my mind racing. I have a boyfriend. I have a life. I can't just... You don't have a boyfriend. His voice was flat. Marcus Thompson left you 3 years ago and married someone else last month. You have no family except your mother and daughter, and your life, Amara, is cleaning floors and watching your child die. Each word hit like a slap. I'm offering you a way out, he continued, a way to save Zara, a way to never worry about money again. And all I have to do is give you a baby. Yes, and then what? Then you walk away. $285,000 for the surgery, $500,000 for your cooperation, full custody to me. You disappear into a new life with enough money to give Zara everything she needs. I looked down at my hands, calloused, dry, the hands of someone who'd worked herself to the bone and still had nothing to show for it. This is insane. Yes, you're asking me to sell my body. I'm asking you to save your daughter's life. Minjun's voice softened, just barely. What would you do, Amara, if it were your child dying? How far would you go? I looked up at him, and I saw something in his eyes I didn't expect. Loneliness. This man, this powerful, wealthy, dangerous man, was completely alone. I need time to think, I whispered. You have 24 hours. He walked back to his desk. After that, this offer disappears. I stood on shaking legs and walked to the door. Amara. I turned. I'm not a good man, he said quietly, but I keep my promises. Sign the contract and your daughter lives. I guarantee it. I left his office, my mind spinning, my heart pounding, and I already knew what I was going to do, because a mother would do anything to save her child, anything. If you're still watching, drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from. And hit that subscribe button, because what Amara does next will change everything. I didn't go home that night. I sat in my car in the Sterling Tower parking garage until 4 a.m., staring at my phone, at the last photo I'd taken of Zara. She was smiling, gap-toothed, beautiful, holding up a drawing she'd made in the hospital. A house, a tree, 2 stick figures holding hands. That's me and you, Mommy, she'd said. When I get better. When I get better. Not if. My baby girl still believed in miracles. I pressed the phone to my chest and cried until there were no tears left. Then I drove to Texas Children's Hospital. Zara was asleep when I arrived. The machines beeped softly around her, monitors tracking every struggling beat of her failing heart. My mother sat in the chair beside the bed, her head tilted back, mouth open slightly, exhausted. She'd been here every day for 6 months while I worked myself to death, trying to save a daughter we both knew I couldn't afford to save. I stood in the doorway watching them both, my whole world in one small hospital room. Amara? My mother's eyes opened. She sat up quickly, wiping her face. Baby, what are you doing here? It's so early. I needed to see her. My mother's expression shifted. She knew that tone. She stood and walked to me, taking my hands in hers. What happened? I couldn't speak. Amara. Her voice was firm now. What happened? Mama, if there was a way to save Zara, if someone offered to pay for everything, the surgery, the bills, all of it, but it cost me something. Something big. Would you tell me to do it? My mother's eyes searched mine. What kind of cost? I looked at Zara, at her small chest rising and falling too slowly, The kind that changes everything. My mother was quiet for a long moment. Then she cupped my face in her worn, gentle hands. Baby, I've watched you sacrifice everything for that little girl. Your marriage, your dreams, your body, your sleep. Her voice cracked. If there's a way to save her and it doesn't hurt anyone and you can live with it, then you do it. You hear me? Even if people judge me, let them judge. My mother's eyes were fierce. They're not watching their baby die. I pulled her into my arms and held on tight. I love you, Mama. I love you too, baby. Whatever you're about to do, I trust you. At 7 a.m., I stood outside Sterling Tower with my phone in my hand. The business card Min Jun had slipped into my apron pocket 3 weeks ago was bent and worn. I'd looked at it 100 times without calling. Now I dialed. He answered on the first ring. Amara. I'll do it. Silence. Say it clearly, he said, his voice low, so there's no misunderstanding. I took a breath. I agree to carry your child in exchange for paying for my daughter's surgery and medical care. Good. A pause. A car will pick you up tonight, 8 p.m. Be ready. Wait, tonight? But I need to... The line went dead. I stared at my phone. What had I just agreed to? I spent the day in a daze. I went through the motions, went home, showered, stared at my closet trying to figure out what you wear when you're about to sign a contract to have a stranger's baby. I settled on jeans and a clean black shirt. At 7:45 p.m., my mother called. Where are you going, baby? You said you had something important. I do, Mama. I can't explain right now, but Zara's surgery is happening. Soon. Everything's been taken care of. What do you mean taken care of? By who? A donor. Someone who wants to remain anonymous. My mother was quiet. Amara. I have to go, Mama. I'll call you tomorrow. I love you. I hung up before she could ask more questions. At exactly 8 p.m., a black SUV with tinted windows pulled up outside my apartment building. A man stepped out, Korean, early 40s, built like he spent his life in a gym. He wore a black suit and an earpiece. Miss Jennings, I'm Mr. Kang's driver. Please, come with me. I climbed into the back seat. The leather was soft. The air conditioning was cold. Everything smelled expensive. We drove in silence through Houston, past the neighborhoods I knew, past downtown, into River Oaks, where old money lived behind gates and walls. Then we kept going, past River Oaks, past Memorial, into an area I'd never seen before. Finally, we stopped at a gate, 12 feet tall, black iron, cameras everywhere, 2 guards with guns visible under their jackets. The gate opened. The driveway stretched for what felt like half a mile, lined with cherry blossom trees lit by soft ground lights. And at the end, rising out of the darkness like something from a movie, was Min Jun Kang's estate. Not a house, not a mansion, a compound. 3 stories of dark wood and stone, traditional Korean architecture mixed with modern glass and steel. Gardens that looked like they belonged in Kyoto. A fountain lit from below, water cascading over smooth rocks. The SUV stopped at the front entrance. Miss Jennings. I stepped out on shaking legs. The front door opened and a woman appeared. Korean, mid-50s, wearing a crisp white blouse and black slacks. Her hair was pulled back in a tight bun, her expression neutral. Miss Jennings, I'm Mrs. Choi. I manage Mr. Kang's household. Please follow me. I followed her inside. The foyer alone was bigger than my entire apartment. White marble floors, a chandelier that looked like it cost more than my car, dark wood panels on the walls, scrolls with Korean calligraphy in black frames. Everything was silent, too silent, like walking through a museum after hours. Mrs. Choi led me down a long hallway, our footsteps echoing. She stopped in front of a set of sliding doors and knocked twice. Come in, Min Jun's voice called from inside. Mrs. Choi slid the door open and gestured for me to enter. I stepped inside. Min Jun's office was nothing like the one at Sterling Tower. This one was traditional, beautiful. A low black desk in the center, surrounded by floor cushions. Bookshelves filled with leather-bound volumes in multiple languages. One entire wall was a window overlooking a private garden lit by stone lanterns. And sitting behind the desk, wearing a simple black shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, was Min Jun. He looked up. Sit. I lowered myself onto one of the cushions. It was lower than I expected. I felt small, vulnerable. Minjun studied me for a long moment, then reached into his desk and pulled out a leather folder. He slid it across the desk. "Read it." My hands trembled as I opened it. The first page had bold letters at the top. Surrogacy and confidentiality agreement. My stomach twisted. I flipped through the pages. Legal language I barely understood, but some parts were crystal clear. The payment terms, $285,000 for Zara's surgery and medical costs, paid within 48 hours of signing. Another $500,000 upon successful delivery of a live, healthy child. Full medical coverage for prenatal care, delivery, and postnatal recovery. Then the confidentiality clause. Absolute silence. Any breach would result in forfeiture of all payments and immediate legal action. But it was the custody section that made my blood run cold. Full and sole custody of the child would belong to Min Jun Kong. I would have no parental rights, no visitation rights, no claims of any kind. The method would be in vitro fertilization, no physical intimacy required. I would live at the Kang estate for the duration of the pregnancy. If the pregnancy failed, the contract could be renewed for up to 2 additional attempts. I read the custody clause 3 times. I won't have any rights to the baby? No, but I'll be the one carrying it. I'll be the mother. Biologically, yes. Minjun's voice was cold, flat. Legally, no. The child will be mine, only mine. What if I change my mind? What if after I give birth I can't? You won't. But what if you won't? His eyes locked onto mine. Because if you do, all financial support ends immediately, including the surgery that's scheduled for your daughter next week. My blood turned to ice. You'd let her die. I'd let you make that choice. He leaned forward. I'm not a villain, Amara, but I am a businessman. This is a contract. You break it, you lose everything. I stared down at the papers. Why are you doing this? Why do you need a child this way? Minjun stood and walked to the window, his back to me. For a moment, he said nothing. Then, in my family, a son is everything. Legacy, honor, power. Without an heir, everything my grandfather built, everything my father expanded, everything I've built, dies with me. So get married. Have a family the normal way. He laughed, sharp, bitter. The normal way. He turned to face me. Do you know how many women have tried to marry me, Amara? Hundreds, maybe thousands. Then why? Because they don't want me. His jaw tightened. They want my name, my money, my connections. The moment I show weakness, the moment I'm no longer useful, they're gone. He stepped closer. You? You don't want anything from me except to save your daughter. That's honest, that's real, and in my world, that's rarer than gold. I didn't know what to say. He gestured to the contract. Sign it, or don't. But decide now. I looked down at the papers, at the pen sitting beside them. I thought of Zara, her smile, her laugh, the way she still believed everything would be okay because Mommy promised. I picked up the pen. My hand shook so badly I could barely write, but I signed my name, Amara Jennings. Minjun picked up the contract, scanned my signature, and nodded once. Mrs. Choi will show you to your room. Tomorrow, Dr. Lim will begin the medical evaluations. The IVF process will start within the week. That fast? I don't waste time. He sat back down at his desk. Your daughter's surgery is scheduled for next Friday. Your mother will be given an apartment near the hospital so she can stay with Zara during recovery. Can I visit them? Once a week, with security. Why security? Minjun looked up at me, his eyes dark and unreadable. Because, Amara, there are people in this city who would love to use you against me, and I protect what's mine. A chill ran down my spine. I'm not yours. Not yet. He picked up his pen and returned to his paperwork. But you will be. Mrs. Choi led me through the mansion, down hallways that seemed endless, past rooms I couldn't even count. Finally, we reached the east wing. She opened a door. This is your room. I stepped inside and froze. The room was massive, a king-size bed with silk sheets in deep blue, a sitting area with a leather couch and a flat-screen TV, a wall of windows overlooking the garden, now lit by moonlight, a bathroom with a soaking tub that looked like something from a spa. This is too much. Mr. Kang insists on the best. Mrs. Choi's expression was neutral. Breakfast is at 7 a.m., lunch at noon, dinner at 7 p.m. If you need anything, press the button by the bed. Someone will assist you immediately. She walked to the closet and opened it. Inside were clothes, new clothes, in my size, jeans, shirts, dresses, pajamas, everything. How did he? Mr. Kang is very thorough. Mrs. Choi closed the closet. Dr. Lim will arrive tomorrow at 9 a.m. for your first examination. Please be ready. She bowed slightly and left, closing the door behind her. I stood alone in the massive room, silent, still, beautiful, and I'd never felt more trapped in my life. I walked to the window and looked out at the garden. The stone lanterns glowed softly. The fountain trickled. Everything was perfect. Too perfect, like a gilded cage. I pulled out my phone and called my mother. Amara, baby, it's almost 11. Are you okay? I'm fine, Mama. How's Zara? She's sleeping. The nurse said her numbers are stable tonight. A pause. Baby, where are you? I'm staying somewhere for work. It's temporary. What kind of work? I can't explain right now, but Mama, Zara's surgery is confirmed. Next Friday. Everything's paid for. Everything. My mother was quiet for a long time. Who is this person, Amara? Someone who can help us. And what do they want in return? I looked around the massive room, at the luxury I'd never imagined, at the price I'd agreed to pay. Something I can give. Baby, I have to go, Mama. Kiss Zara for me. Tell her Mommy loves her. I hung up before she could ask more questions. I sat on the edge of the massive bed and stared at my hands. Calloused. Worn. The hands of a woman who'd worked herself to the bone and still had nothing. Now I had everything, and I'd never felt more alone. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in the silk sheets staring at the ceiling, listening to the silence. In my apartment, there was always noise. Traffic, neighbors, the hum of the old refrigerator. Here, there was nothing. Just silence. And my thoughts. What have I done? At 3 a.m., I got up and walked to the window. The garden was still lit. The fountain still ran. And in the distance, I saw a light on in another part of the mansion. Min Jun's office. He was awake too. I wondered what he was thinking. If he felt anything at all. Or if this was just another business deal to him. Another transaction. Another chess piece moved into place. I pressed my hand against the cold glass and closed my eyes. I'm sorry, baby girl, I whispered to Zara wherever she was sleeping. I'm so sorry. Because I knew the truth. I just sold my body, my future, my freedom, and there was no going back. If you're wondering what happens next, drop a comment below and tell me, would you have signed the contract? And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. The next chapter is where everything changes. I woke to sunlight streaming through windows I didn't recognize. For a moment, I forgot where I was. Then it all came rushing back. The contract, the signature, Min Jun's cold eyes telling me I would be his. I sat up, my heart pounding. A soft knock came at the door. Miss Jennings, breakfast is ready. Mrs. Choi's voice, polite, professional, like I was a guest and not a woman who'd just sold her womb. I'll be down in a minute, I called out. I dragged myself to the bathroom and stared at my reflection in the mirror. Dark circles under my eyes, hair a mess. I looked like someone who'd spent the night making the worst decision of her life, because I had. I splashed water on my face, pulled my hair into a ponytail, and put on one of the new shirts from the closet. It fit perfectly. Of course it did. Min Jun was thorough. The dining room was on the first floor, down a hallway lined with more art I didn't understand. When I walked in, I stopped. The table could seat 20 people easily. Dark wood, high-backed chairs, a chandelier overhead that probably cost more than my entire life. And at the far end, reading something on his phone, was Min Jun. He looked up. Good morning. Morning, I said, my voice tight. He gestured to the seat closest to him, not at the other end of the massive table, but right beside him. I sat. Within seconds, staff appeared. Korean women in pristine uniforms carrying trays of food, rice, soup, grilled fish, kimchi, side dishes I didn't recognize, everything perfectly arranged. Eat, Min Jun said, setting his phone down. I picked up the chopsticks. My hands were shaking. You don't have to be afraid of me, he said quietly. I'm not afraid of you. You're lying. He poured tea into my cup. "You've been lying since you walked into my office last night." I set the chopsticks down. "What do you want me to say? That I'm thrilled to be here? That I'm excited to carry a stranger's baby?" "No." His voice was calm. Too calm. "I want you to eat. Dr. Lim will be here in an hour and you'll need your strength." "For what?" "For the examination. Blood work, ultrasounds, everything necessary to ensure you're healthy enough for the procedure." My stomach turned. I thought we'd have more time. Time is a luxury neither of us can afford. Minjun picked up his chopsticks and began eating. "Your daughter needs surgery next week. The IVF process takes time. We start today." I stared at him. He ate like this was normal, like we were discussing the weather. "Do you feel anything?" I asked suddenly. He paused, chopsticks halfway to his mouth. "What? Do you feel anything at all? Guilt? Shame? Anything?" Minjun set his chopsticks down carefully. "I feel a great many things, Amara, but guilt isn't one of them." His dark eyes met mine. "I offered you a choice. You made it. Now we both live with the consequences." "You didn't offer me a choice. You offered me my daughter's life in exchange for mine." "Yes?" He didn't look away. "And you chose her, as any good mother would." I wanted to scream at him, to throw the tea in his face, to run. But I didn't, because he was right. I picked up the chopsticks and ate in silence. Dr. Lim arrived exactly at 9. She was a small Korean woman in her late 40s, wearing a white doctor's coat over a gray dress. Her hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and she carried a black medical bag that looked like it weighed more than she did. "Miss Jennings," she said, bowing slightly. "I'm Dr. Lim. I'll be overseeing your care." "Nice to meet you. Shall we begin?" Mrs. Choi led us to a room on the second floor I hadn't seen before. It was a full medical suite, examination table, monitors, cabinets filled with equipment, an ultrasound machine in the corner. This wasn't just a mansion, it was a fortress, a compound, a place where Minjun controlled everything, including me. "Please have a seat on the table," Dr. Lim said, snapping on latex gloves. I climbed onto the table, my heart hammering. Dr. Lim pulled out a folder and began asking questions. My medical history, previous pregnancies, I'd had none. Medications, allergies, family history of disease. Then she drew blood, vial after vial. "We need to run a full panel," she explained. "Hormone levels, infectious diseases, genetic markers, everything must be perfect. And if it's not, then we address it." She labeled the vials with practiced efficiency. "But based on your file, you're healthy, young, fertile. You should have no issues carrying to term." Should. That word hung in the air. "What about him?" I asked. "Does Minjun have to do all this too?" Dr. Lim's expression didn't change. "Mr. Kang has already provided his sample. His genetic screening came back clean." Of course it did. He'd probably planned this months ago, maybe years. "How long until we know if I'm suitable?" "The results will be ready in 48 hours. If everything looks good, we'll begin the ovarian stimulation process immediately." Ovarian stimulation? Hormone injections to help your body produce multiple eggs. We'll monitor you daily with ultrasounds and blood work. Once the eggs are mature, we'll retrieve them, fertilize them with Mr. Kang's sperm in the lab, and culture the embryos for 5 days. She said it so clinically, like we were talking about baking bread. Then we'll select the healthiest embryo and transfer it to your uterus. If it implants successfully, you'll be pregnant within 2 weeks. 2 weeks. 14 days until I'd be carrying Min Jun Kang's child. What if it doesn't work? Then we try again. Dr. Lim pulled out a syringe. But let's focus on success. Now I need to do a pelvic exam. I lay back on the table, staring at the ceiling while she examined me. Cold, clinical, efficient. When it was over, Dr. Lim pulled off her gloves and made notes in her file. "Everything looks normal. You're an excellent candidate." She looked up at me, her expression softening slightly. "I know this is difficult, but I've been doing this for 20 years. You're in good hands. Are you doing this because you believe in it, or because he's paying you?" Dr. Lim didn't flinch. "Both." She closed the file. "Mr. Kang is paying me very well, but I also believe every child deserves to be born healthy, and I'll make sure yours is." "Yours, not his. Not the baby, yours. Like I'd have any claim to it at all. That afternoon, Minjun found me in the library. I'd discovered it that morning while wandering the mansion. 2 stories of books, a rolling ladder, windows overlooking the garden. It was the only place that felt remotely peaceful. I was sitting in a leather chair pretending to read when he walked in. Amara. I looked up. He'd changed. No longer in his morning clothes. Now he wore a perfectly tailored suit, his hair slicked back, looking every inch the billionaire. Dr. Lim says the exam went well. She would know. He walked closer, hands in his pockets. I have to leave for a few days. Business in Los Angeles. Okay. Mrs. Choi will take care of anything you need. Security will remain on the estate. You're safe here. Am I? I closed the book. Or am I just trapped? Minjun's jaw tightened. You're free to move anywhere on the property. The gardens, the pool, the gym, anywhere. Except off the property. Except off the property, he confirmed. So I'm a prisoner. You're a guest. Guests can leave. His eyes darkened. You signed a contract, Amara. You agreed to live here during the pregnancy. I'm not pregnant yet, but you will be. He stepped closer. And when you are, you'll understand why these precautions are necessary. What precautions? Why do you need armed guards and gates and security cameras everywhere? Minjun was silent for a long moment. Then he sat in the chair across from me. There are people in this city who would love to hurt me, Amara. Rivals, enemies, men who would burn everything I have to the ground if they thought it would give them an advantage. What kind of enemies? He looked out the window. The kind that don't ask questions before they pull triggers. A chill ran down my spine. Are you saying I'm in danger? Not as long as you stay here. His eyes met mine. This estate is a fortress. No one gets in without my permission. No one gets out without my knowledge. You're safer here than anywhere else in Houston. Because I'm carrying something valuable. Because you're carrying my child. His voice was firm. And I protect what's mine. There it was again. Mine. I'm not yours, I said quietly. Minjun stood. Not yet, he said, but you will be. He left before I could respond. The next 2 days passed in a strange fog. Dr. Lim returned with my test results. Everything was perfect. My hormones, my blood, my fertility markers. I was an ideal candidate. She started me on injections immediately. Hormones to stimulate my ovaries. I had to inject myself in the stomach twice a day. The first time, my hands shook so badly I could barely do it. Mrs. Choi had to help me. It gets easier, she said gently, pressing the needle into my skin. But it didn't. Every injection was a reminder of what I'd agreed to. Every needle was another step toward becoming Minjun's incubator. Minjun called every evening, not to check on me as a person, but to check on the process. Dr. Lim says your follicles are responding well, he'd say. Yes. The retrieval should happen in a few days. That's what she said. Silence. Are you eating properly? Yes. Getting enough rest? Yes. More silence. Then he'd hang up. No goodbye, no pleasantries, just business. On the 4th night, I couldn't sleep. I got up and walked through the mansion, my bare feet silent on the marble floors. I found myself in front of a door I'd never opened before. It was unlocked. I pushed it open. Inside was a nursery, fully decorated, complete. A crib made of dark wood, a rocking chair by the window, shelves filled with books and toys, soft rugs on the floor. The walls painted a soft gray with hand-painted cherry blossoms in the corners. Everything perfect, everything ready, for a baby that didn't exist yet. I walked to the crib and ran my hand along the railing. Minjun had built this. Before he even found me, before he made his offer. He'd been planning this for months, maybe years, and I was just the vessel he'd chosen to make it real. I sank into the rocking chair and stared at the empty crib. This baby, this child I would carry, would never know me, would never call me mother, would grow up in this mansion with Minjun as a father and no memory of the woman who gave birth to them. I pressed my hands to my stomach, still flat, still empty, but not for long. I'm sorry, I whispered to the child that didn't exist yet. I'm so sorry. Because I knew the truth. I was bringing a life into this world for money, and that made me exactly what Minjun said I was, his. The retrieval happened on day 7. Dr. Lim sedated me lightly and used a needle to extract the eggs from my ovaries. I woke up groggy, cramping, empty. "We retrieved 12 eggs," Dr. Lim said, checking my vitals. "An excellent number. We'll fertilize them tonight and monitor their development." "And then?" "Then we wait 5 days. The strongest embryos will survive. We'll select the best one and transfer it to your uterus." 5 days. 5 days until I'd be pregnant. 5 days until there was no turning back. Minjun returned the next day. I was in the garden when he found me. "Amara?" I turned. He looked tired, more tired than I'd ever seen him. "How are you feeling?" "Sore. Dr. Lim says the retrieval went perfectly." "So I heard." He sat on the bench beside me. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. "Do you hate me?" he asked suddenly. I looked at him, surprised. "What? Do you hate me? For this? For all of it?" I thought about lying, but I was too tired. "I don't know what I feel," I said honestly. "I'm grateful you're saving Zara, and I resent you for putting me in a position where I had to choose." Minjun nodded slowly. "That's fair." "Is it?" I turned to face him. "Because nothing about this is fair. Not for me, not for the baby, not even for you. For me. You're so desperate for an heir you're willing to buy one from a stranger. That's not power. That's loneliness." His jaw tightened. "You don't know anything about my life." "Then tell me." Silence. "Why do you need this baby so badly?" I pressed. "Why this way? Why me?" Minjun stood, his back to me. "Because everyone I've ever trusted has betrayed me," he said quietly. "My father's business partners tried to steal the company when he died. The woman I almost married was sleeping with my attorney. My own cousin tried to have me killed." He turned. "You're the only person who wants nothing from me except to save your daughter. That's the closest thing to honesty I've found in 10 years. I stared at him. For the first time, I saw past the cold exterior, and I saw a man just as trapped as I was. "The embryo transfer is in 3 days," he said, his voice returning to its usual controlled tone. "After that, we'll know if it worked within 2 weeks." He walked away, leaving me alone in the garden, and I realized something terrifying. I was starting to feel sorry for him. The embryo transfer happened on a Wednesday morning. Dr. Lim had me lie on the examination table while she prepared the catheter. Minjun stood in the corner of the room, his hands clasped behind his back, watching everything with those dark, unreadable eyes. "You don't have to be here," I said, my voice tight. "Yes, I do." Dr. Lim glanced between us but said nothing. She'd learned quickly that Minjun Kang didn't take suggestions. "This will be uncomfortable but not painful," she said, positioning the ultrasound wand. "You'll feel some pressure." I stared at the ceiling and tried not to think about what was happening. A stranger's embryo being placed inside my body, a child I would carry for 9 months and then give away, a baby I would never hold, never feed, never call mine. "All done," Dr. Lim said, removing the catheter. "The embryo is in place. Now we wait." "How long?" Minjun asked. 2 weeks. Then we'll do a blood test to confirm pregnancy." 2 weeks, 14 days to find out if I was trapped forever. Minjun had me moved to a different room after the transfer. "You need complete bed rest for 48 hours, he said, leading me down the hallway. "I can walk to my own room." "Not anymore." He stopped in front of a door I'd never seen before, right next to his office, right in the center of the mansion where he could monitor everything. He opened it. The room was smaller than my previous one, but more luxurious. A massive bed with silk sheets, windows overlooking the garden, a private bathroom with heated floors, and security cameras in every corner. "You're watching me now?" "I'm protecting you," Minjun corrected. "If something happens, if you fall, if you have complications, someone needs to know immediately." "So I'm a prisoner in a smaller cage." His jaw tightened. "You're the woman carrying my child, and I will do whatever is necessary to ensure that child survives." He left before I could argue. The first week was torture. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering if the embryo was implanting, if cells were dividing inside me, if my body was accepting or rejecting the foreign presence. Mrs. Choi brought me meals 3 times a day. Dr. Lim checked my vitals every morning. Min Jun would appear in the evenings, standing in the doorway like a shadow. "How are you feeling?" "Fine." "Any cramping, spotting?" "No." "Good." Then he'd leave. Always the same questions, always the same cold distance. On the 5th day, I couldn't take it anymore. "Why do you even care?" I snapped when he appeared in the doorway. He paused, halfway into the room. "What?" "You don't care about me. You barely talk to me. You just stand there and ask your clinical questions like I'm some kind of science experiment." Min Jun stepped fully into the room and closed the door. "What do you want me to say, Amara?" "I don't know. Anything. Something that makes me feel like I'm a person and not just an incubator." Silence crashed between us. Then Min Jun walked to the window, his back to me. "If I let myself see you as a person," he said quietly, "this becomes infinitely more complicated." "It's already complicated." "No." He turned. "Right now, this is a transaction, a business arrangement. If I start seeing you as more than that, if I start caring about what you think, what you feel, what you want—" He stopped himself. "What?" I pushed. "What happens then?" Min Jun's eyes met mine, and for the first time I saw something raw in them. Fear. "Then I lose control," he whispered. Before I could respond, his phone rang. He pulled it from his pocket, looked at the screen, and his entire expression changed. Cold, hard, dangerous. "I have to take this." He left the room, and I heard him speaking rapid Korean in the hallway. His voice was sharp, angry. Something was wrong. Min Jun didn't come back that night, or the next day, or the day after that. Mrs. Choi brought my meals but wouldn't answer my questions. "Where is he?" "Mr. Kang is handling business." "What kind of business?" "I'm not at liberty to say." On the 3rd day, I was finally allowed out of bed. Dr. Lim did another examination and declared everything looked good. "The embryo should be fully implanted by now," she said. "We'll do the pregnancy test in 4 days." 4 days. I wandered the mansion, trying to find Min Jun. His office was empty. His bedroom door was locked. None of the staff would tell me anything. It was like he'd vanished. That night, I heard shouting. I got out of bed and crept down the hallway toward the noise. It was coming from Min Jun's office. The door was closed, but I could hear multiple voices, men speaking Korean, angry, arguing. Then a sound that made my blood run cold. A gunshot. I ran, back to my room, slammed the door, pressed my back against it, my heart hammering. What the hell had I gotten myself into? Min Jun appeared in my room an hour later. I was sitting on the bed, knees pulled to my chest, when the door opened. He looked like hell. His shirt was untucked. His tie was gone. There was a cut above his left eyebrow, dried blood crusting at the edge. "Are you hurt?" I asked before I could stop myself. "No." "Your face." "It's nothing." He walked to the window and stared out at the darkness. "I heard a gunshot." "You shouldn't have been listening." "Kinda hard not to when someone's firing a gun in the house where I'm being held captive." Min Jun spun around, his eyes blazing. "You're not a captive. You signed a contract. You agreed to this." "I agreed to carry your baby, not to be in the middle of a war zone." "This is my world, Amara." His voice rose for the first time since I'd met him. "This is what I do. This is who I am. Did you think the money came from legitimate business? Did you think a man my age builds an empire like this without blood on his hands?" I stared at him, my heart pounding. "Who are you?" Min Jun laughed, bitter, broken. "You really want to know?" He stepped closer. "My grandfather was Jopak, Korean Mafia. He came to America with nothing and built a criminal empire. My father legitimized part of it, turned it into real businesses, but kept the underground operations running. When he died, I inherited all of it." He gestured around the mansion. "Every dollar that pays for this house, that paid for your daughter's surgery, that's keeping you alive right now. It comes from things you don't want to know about. Try me. Shipping routes that move more than just cargo, real estate deals that displace families, protection rackets, money laundering." His voice was flat. "I'm not a good man, Amara. I never pretended to be." "Then why do you want a child? Why bring an innocent life into this?" "Because I'm trying to build something different." His voice cracked. because I want my son to have choices I never had, because I want to leave him something legitimate, something clean, something that doesn't require blood to maintain. He sank into the chair by the window, his head in his hands. But there are people who don't want that, people who want to keep things the way they've always been, and tonight one of them tried to kill me. My breath caught. What? My father's old partner, Park Sung-ho. He's been trying to take over my operations for years. Tonight he made his move, sent men to this house. The gunshot was one of his men, dead now, in the garden. Min-jun looked up at me. And he knows about you. Terror washed over me. What? Someone leaked information about the pregnancy, about you, about Zara. How? I don't know yet, but Sung-ho is using it as leverage. He's threatening to go public unless I hand over 40% of my operations. I stood, my legs shaking. What happens if he goes public? Min-jun's expression was grim. The media destroys you. Your face, your name, your daughter's name, all over the news. Desperate black mother sells baby to Korean crime lord. They'll tear you apart. Zara will grow up knowing her mother was a whore who sold herself for money. Each word was a knife. And you? I whispered. I lose everything. The board forces me out. The authorities investigate. Sung-ho takes over. Everything my family built for 3 generations. Gone. I sank back onto the bed. What are you going to do? Min-jun stood and walked to the door. I'm going to protect you no matter what it costs. How? He turned, and the look in his eyes made my blood run cold. By doing what I do best. He left, and I heard him shouting orders in Korean down the hallway. The next morning, the mansion was transformed. Armed guards everywhere, men in suits with guns visible under their jackets, security checkpoints at every entrance. I wasn't allowed to leave my room. Mrs. Choi brought me meals, but even she looked nervous. What's happening? I asked. Mr. Kang is handling this situation. That's not an answer. She set down the tray and looked at me with something like pity. There are things happening that are beyond my understanding, Miss Jennings. But I can tell you this. Mr. Kang has never cared about anyone the way he cares about protecting you. He doesn't care about me. He cares about the baby. Mrs. Choi smiled sadly. If you truly believe that, you haven't been paying attention. She left before I could respond. I didn't see Min-jun for 3 days. Dr. Lim came to do the pregnancy test on schedule. She drew my blood, ran the test, and returned an hour later. Her face was carefully neutral. Well, I asked, my heart in my throat, you're pregnant. The room spun. What? Your HCG levels are exactly where they should be. The embryo implanted successfully. Congratulations, Miss Jennings. I pressed my hands to my stomach. There was a baby growing inside me. Min-jun's baby. Does he know? I whispered. I'm about to tell him. She left. I sat on the bed, my hands still pressed to my flat stomach, tears streaming down my face. I didn't know if they were tears of relief or despair. Min-jun came to my room that night. He looked exhausted. His suit was wrinkled. His eyes were bloodshot. But when he saw me, something in his expression shifted. Dr. Lim told me. I nodded. He walked across the room and did something I never expected. He knelt in front of me. Thank you, he said, his voice rough. Don't thank me yet. We don't know if I'll make it to term. You will. His hands covered mine where they rested on my stomach. I'll make sure of it. What about Sung-ho? What about the threats? Min-jun's expression hardened. I'm handling it. How? You don't need to know. Yes, I do. This is my life too now. If he's threatening to expose me, I have a right to know what you're planning. Min-jun stood abruptly. I'm planning to eliminate the threat. Permanently. You mean kill him? He didn't answer. You're going to kill him, I repeated, my voice hollow. I'm going to protect my family. His eyes burned into mine. You, the baby, your daughter, your mother, everyone Sung-ho could use against me. I will burn his entire operation to the ground before I let him touch any of you. This is insane. This is my world. He walked to the door. And now it's yours, too. He left. And I sat alone in the massive room, my hands pressed to my stomach where a stranger's child was growing, and wondered if I'd made a deal with the devil or if the devil had been the only one who could save me. That night, I heard helicopters, shouting, more gunshots in the distance. I pressed my pillow over my head and prayed for morning. When dawn came, Minjun was standing in my doorway. His suit was splattered with blood. "It's over," he said simply. "What's over?" "Sung-ho, the threat, all of it." I stared at him. "What did you do?" "What I had to." He turned to leave, then stopped. "You're safe now, Amara. You and the baby. I promise." He walked away, leaving bloody footprints on the marble floor, and I knew, really knew, that I was carrying the child of a monster. 3 months passed like a fever dream. My belly grew, slowly at first, then suddenly, a small, unmistakable curve beneath my clothes that announced to the world what I'd done. I was carrying Minjun Kong's child. Zara's surgery had been successful. My mother called me every day with updates. Zara was thriving, playing, laughing. The color had returned to her cheeks. She was asking when Mommy would come home. "Soon, baby," I'd tell her through video calls. "Mommy's job is almost finished." But the job was just beginning. Because the baby inside me wasn't just a baby anymore. It was a life, a heartbeat, a person, and I was starting to love it. Minjun changed after the night with Sung-ho. He never told me what happened, never explained the blood or the helicopters or the silence that followed. But the armed guards gradually disappeared. The tension in the mansion eased, and Minjun started spending more time at home with me. He'd appear in the library while I was reading, sit across from me without speaking, just present. He started joining me for dinner, not at opposite ends of the massive table, but side by side. He asked questions, not clinical ones anymore. "What are you reading? What do you miss most about your old life? What do you want for the baby?" That last question caught me off guard. We were in the garden. I was 6 months pregnant, my belly round and full. Minjun had found me sitting on a bench watching the sunset. "What do I want for the baby?" I repeated. "Yes," he sat beside me. "If you could give this child anything in the world, what would it be?" I thought about it, really thought about it. "I'd want them to be loved," I said quietly, "not for what they represent or what they can do, just loved for who they are." Minjun was silent for a long time. "I don't know if I know how to do that," he admitted. I looked at him, really looked at him. The harsh lines around his mouth had softened. The coldness in his eyes had thawed. He looked tired, human. "Then learn," I said. "You have 7 months before this baby arrives. Figure it out." He reached out slowly, hesitantly, and placed his hand on my belly. "May I?" I nodded. His palm was warm against the fabric of my dress. We sat like that for a moment, neither of us speaking. Then the baby kicked. Minjun's eyes widened. "Was that?" "Yeah," I smiled despite myself. "That was your son. Or daughter. Dr. Lim said it's a boy." "I know." His hand stayed on my belly. "But I've been thinking. Maybe I was wrong to want only a son. Maybe a daughter would be..." He trailed off. "Would be what?" "Someone I could protect differently, love differently." He looked at me. "The way I wish I could protect and love you." My breath caught. "Minjun..." "I know." He pulled his hand away. "I know this is just a contract. I know you'll leave when this is over. I know I have no right to feel anything for you, but I do." He stood abruptly. "I'm sorry, that was inappropriate." He walked away before I could respond, and I sat alone in the garden, my hand pressed where his had been, feeling the baby kick again. The truth was, I'd started feeling things too, things I had no right to feel. Gratitude had turned into something softer. Resentment had faded into understanding. Fear had transformed into something I didn't want to name, because naming it would make it real, and making it real would destroy me. 7 months into the pregnancy, everything fell apart. I woke up in the middle of the night to wetness between my legs, blood. Too much blood. "Mrs. Choi," I screamed. She appeared within seconds, took one look at the sheets, and ran for help. Dr. Lim arrived within 20 minutes. Minjun burst into the room right behind her, his hair disheveled, wearing only pajama pants. "What's happening?" he demanded. "Placental abruption," Dr. Lim said, checking the monitor. "The placenta is separating from the uterine wall. We need to get her to the hospital. Now." "No hospital," Minjun said immediately. Too public, too dangerous. She could die, Dr. Lim snapped. The baby could die. Then do the surgery here. I'm not equipped for... Make it work. His voice was steel. I'll have everything you need here within the hour. Operating room, anesthesiologist, surgical team, whatever you need. But she doesn't leave this house. Dr. Lim stared at him, then nodded. Fine, but if she dies, it's on you. The next hour was chaos. Minjun transformed the medical suite into an operating room. Equipment appeared from nowhere. A full surgical team arrived, doctors and nurses who asked no questions and signed non-disclosure agreements before they even entered the room. I lay on the gurney, bleeding, terrified, while Minjun held my hand. Stay with me, he whispered. Please, Amara, stay with me. I'm scared. I know, but you're strong. Stronger than anyone I've ever met. If I don't make it, you will. If I don't, I insisted, promise me you'll take care of Zara. Promise me she'll never know what her mother did. Promise me. Stop. His voice broke. You're going to be fine. You're going to survive this. And when you do, we're going to figure out what comes next. Together. There is no together. The contract. Fuck the contract. His eyes were fierce. I don't care about the contract anymore. I care about you, about Zara, about this family we've somehow created. Before I could respond, Dr. Lim appeared. We're ready. Mr. Kang, you need to leave. No. You can't be in the operating room. I'm staying. Minjun, Dr. Lim started. I'm staying. His hand tightened on mine. She's terrified. I'm not leaving her alone. Dr. Lim sighed. Fine, scrub in, but stay out of my way. They wheeled me into the operating room. The anesthesiologist placed a mask over my face. Count backward from 10, he said. 10, 9, 8. The last thing I saw before the darkness took me was Minjun's face, tears streaming down his cheeks. I woke up to beeping, monitors, machines, the steady rhythm of a heartbeat that wasn't mine. I tried to move, but pain exploded through my abdomen. Don't move, Minjun's voice close. You just had surgery. I turned my head. He was sitting beside the bed, unshaven, exhausted, still wearing surgical scrubs. The baby, I croaked. Alive, breathing. Perfect. Tears flooded my eyes. Where? NICU. He's premature, 7 months. But Dr. Lim says he's strong. He's a fighter, like his mother. A boy? Minjun smiled, really smiled, for the first time since I'd met him. A boy. 3 pounds, 4 ounces. The most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I want to see him. Soon, when you're strong enough. I closed my eyes, exhaustion pulling me under. Minjun? Yes? Thank you for staying. His hand found mine. Always, he whispered. I'll always stay. 2 weeks later, I held my son for the first time. Dr. Lim placed him in my arms, tiny, fragile, with Minjun's dark eyes and my brown skin. Perfect. Hello, baby, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. He wrapped his tiny fingers around mine and held on, and I knew I couldn't give him up. Minjun, I said, looking up at him where he stood beside the bed. We need to talk. His expression shuddered immediately. I know what you're going to say. Do you? You want out of the contract. You want to keep him. I nodded. He turned away, his shoulders tight. I knew this would happen. I knew the moment you held him, you'd change your mind. I'm sorry. Don't be. His voice was rough. You're his mother. You have every right to love him. But the contract, I'll tear it up. He turned back to face me. I'll give you everything I promised. The money, the house, your freedom. You can take him and Zara and your mother and disappear. Start over somewhere safe. Is that what you want? What I want doesn't matter. It matters to me. Minjun stared at me. What are you saying? I looked down at our son, because he was ours, not just Minjun's or mine, but ours. I'm saying that somewhere along the way, this stopped being about a contract. It stopped being about money or survival or desperation. It became about something else. What? I met his eyes. Family. Minjun's breath caught. Amara. I don't love you. I said quickly. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I don't hate you either, and I think we could figure something out. For him, for Zara, for all of us. What kind of something? I don't know. Co-parenting, shared custody, actually getting to know each other without a contract between us? I shifted the baby in my arms. All I know is that this baby deserves better than two people who made a business deal. He deserves parents who at least try. Minjun walked to the bed and sat on the edge. He looked at our son, then at me. I don't know how to be a father, he admitted. I don't know how to be a partner. I don't know how to do any of this without controlling every variable. Then we learn together. What if I fail? What if I'm like my father, too consumed by business and power to actually love anyone? Then I'll remind you. I touched his hand. That's what partners do. Minjun's eyes filled with tears. I don't deserve you. No, I agreed. You don't. But this baby deserves both of us trying. He leaned down and kissed our son's forehead. What should we name him? I thought about everything we'd been through. The desperation, the fear, the blood, the survival. Elijah, I said. It means God is my salvation. Minjun smiled. Elijah Kang. Elijah Jennings Kang, I corrected. He looked at me, surprised. You'd give him your name too? He's mine too, isn't he? Yes. Minjun's voice was thick with emotion. He is. 6 months later, I stood in the garden with Zara, watching Minjun push Elijah in a stroller. Zara was completely healed, running, laughing, alive. She adored her baby brother, called him Eli, and insisted on helping with everything. Mommy, is Mr. Kang our family now? She asked. I looked at Minjun, at the man who'd saved my daughter's life, trapped me in a contract, protected me from enemies, and somehow become someone I couldn't imagine living without. Yeah, baby, I said. I think he is. Minjun looked up and caught me watching. He smiled. Not the cold, controlled smile from our first meeting. A real smile. Warm. Genuine. And I smiled back. We weren't a normal family. We'd never be normal. But we were ours. And sometimes, that's enough. If this story touched your heart, drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from. Hit that like button, share this with someone who loves dark romance, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories. Thank you for watching.